I'm Kat, an independent midwife from Wales. Welcome to the Mother of All Podcasts, where nothing is off the table of discussion. If it leaks, cries, swears, screams, goes up but doesn't stay up, we're talking about it. It's time to get raw and real. Your no BS guide to pregnancy, preconception, birth, adolescence, wet dreams, wet in the bed, coming home pissed. Who knows? Whatever. We're just going to talk about it. Life in parenting doesn't come with a manual. Well, not a decent one anyway. So let's just create a podcast. Welcome to the Mother of All Podcasts. I don't even know where that come from. Hello, I'm Aunty Kat from Mother of All Podcasts, and today I am going to be answering the questions that you posted on my social media. The questions are around birth, mainly birth, parenting. I've had a few rogue questions, which I'm more than happy to answer, obviously. So we'll get going, because I'll be on here all day otherwise. I will be looking at my phone, because the questions are on my phone. So the first one, I won't name any names, by the way. How can I start labour naturally at 39 weeks, wanting a VBAC? A VBAC is a vaginal birth after a cesarean, with no induction or sweeps. So this is really easy. Sex will start off an orgasm, hopefully, or you can sort yourself out. And then that releases oxytocin, which can help you contract. But also, the ingredients in sperm can help your cervix dilate. So that one. And then, obviously, just go holistic. Reflexology, massages with clary sage, but the biggest thing I would say is don't chase it. There's actually an Instagram post on my Kat the Midwife Instagram, and you'll see a little dog, so have a look at that one, and it's all about chasing a birth and how it can affect you getting in that right mindset. So have a bonk, a glass of wine, and ignore. That's my biggest advice for you. Okay, this question I had off a woman and a man, so I'm going to generalise it, and it's how soon after birth can we have sex? So, well, it's can I have sex, but it takes two. So I'll answer it from a woman's perspective. Basically, it can take it depends what kind of birth you've had to start with. If you've had a C-section, obviously your vagina and your perineum is fully intact. However, you do have an abdominal wound and you will be in pain. If you've had a vaginal birth, even if you've got away with no tears, you'll definitely have bruising, grazes. You might have just had a first degree tear. So it's about when you feel ready. It's about when you feel healed. And it's completely up to you. What I would highly suggest is waiting until you've stopped bleeding because of infection. If you've had a second or a third degree tear, then you should definitely let those sutures heal. So that's like from a clinical perspective. But in terms of an emotional perspective, a woman never feels the same after she's had a baby, and it will take a while. Sometimes they will never feel like they used to feel. So from a man's perspective, you probably don't care because you just want a bonk. But for a woman, it takes a lot of time for her to like fall in love with her new body. And it's just an element of pressure. I think my biggest advice is open lines of communication, 100%. It's a big, big thing to do after you've pushed a kid out of there, or even after a C-section. So talk about it, but it's such a good question to ask. And I love it when I'm asked it because it means that you're talking. So the worst thing could be to just not have that conversation because it is an important part of marriage, right? I hope that answers your question. The next one, can you request continuity of care on the NHS? Sadly, this whole podcast could be about the maternity services, so I'm not going to talk about this for too long. Continuity of care used to be the standard care back in the day. It's not anymore. If you already have it, absolutely fantastic, amazing. There are a lot of good trusts out there that promote continuity of care that can staff it. You can request to see the same midwife for every single appointment. Absolutely, that's your right. However, if that midwife is off on leave or she's unwell, then you will be seen by another midwife. So I don't know if I've rambled on that one, but basically you can request continuity of care. So if you see a midwife and you really, really like her and you've got that vibe, then just ask her if you can continue seeing her. I wouldn't say that anyone would say no, because that's like a big compliment that you want to spend your pregnancy journey with them. So you're not guaranteed it, but you can ask for it. What is... Is it normal to want to kill your husband after having kids? I think it's normal to want to kill your husband in any situation, really, or any partner. We're different species. We just we're meant to be together, but we're not meant to understand each other. So in that respect, you have to learn to know what buttons you can press. And I highly imagine if you've just had a baby, is this from a woman? Yeah. If you've just had a baby, your hormones are raging. You don't know what day of the week it is. Some days you might like him. Some days you wish he didn't even breathe. That's okay, it's normal. So yeah, I suppose it is normal, but don't let it fester. I sound like Brene Brown. Like, you just need to talk. Everything can be resolved with an honest conversation. And don't be afraid of what they have to say, because sometimes... you're not going to like it. We're not perfect. We think we are. Well, we try to be. And they might not like what you've got to say. So I think question why you want to kill him after having kids. Is this something that's not funny? Like, is it something that you can laugh off, or do you genuinely not want to spend any time with him? All marriages and relationships go through those kind of ebbs and flows and peaks and troughs. It's just whether they continue. And, nobody should want to be in a relationship that they're not happy in 80% of the time, I say. Don't land for 50. You're worth more than that. So if you're happy 80% of the time and you only want to get that rope out and stick it around his neck 20% of the time, you've probably got a really good relationship. Next question. What's the best timescale for postnatal recovery? So we'll talk in the physiological sense. It can take up to 12 months to recover from a vaginal birth, physically, up to 2 years for a C-section. These are just averages, depending on your situation. Some women recover quicker than others. It's really difficult. Don't put a time frame on it. My youngest turned 18 in March, and then I finally announced that I was no longer in the postnatal stage. Because they're all adults, so as far as I'm concerned, until they turn 18, you're always recovering from birth and parenting and life changes. So the worst thing you could do is put a time frame on it. If you're asking for a specific exercise reason, then seek a doctor. So mentally, it can take up to... So the average is 2 years for that massive surge of hormones in pregnancy, and then huge drop post-birth. It can take up to 2 years to recover. For some women, 7. And in that time frame, some women get pregnant again. So then that starts the hormonal clock again. And then when you finish your family, you hit the fucking menopause. So your hormones never fully recover, I think, unless you started having kids like in the olden days at 15, 16, like my mother did, and my nan. So I think don't put a timeline on it, definitely. Don't fight to get back into your genes. Learn to love. This is all shit that I didn't do, by the way, so it's coming from a place of learning, because I wish I did. Don't fight to get back into the gym. Take each day as it comes. If you've got energy, use it. If you haven't, then don't. And most importantly, try and love your body. It's done a wonderful thing. Stretch marks are like, tiger marks from your kids. And yeah, it's softer. Everything feels a lot softer. And just learn to love it. And yeah, you'll recover a lot quicker. I wish I did. I'm 50 next year, and I'm still amazed at what my body did for my 3 kids, but I also hate every single one of them for making it look like the way it does now. So don't be that person. Next question. Oh, potty training. Advice from your experience with your own kids. I hated it. Absolutely hated potty training. My kids were quite late, But I think it's because I delayed it, because my son was a nightmare. Very, very clever, and just would only do it if he got a present. Not much has changed since, actually. But listen to the link I posted last Tuesday to the Spotify episode with Shakira and Rian. They talk about pelvic health, but women. But we touched on how when you're training a kid to potty train, you're not allowing them to feel the urgency. I was fascinated. And it also made me feel better that my kids were 3 when they were potty trained. Because obviously there's this big rush now. Schools are saying that children have to be potty trained to go to school, which adds an element of pressure for parents, which is cruel. Because some kids aren't ready, and mine definitely weren't. So what she said was, there's no research, I don't think, but it makes so much sense to me, is that if you're saying to your kids, because I did it, quick, go and have a quick wee before we leave the house, or we're going to the service station, get out of the car and have a wee. I don't need a wee. Well, just try anyway. You're not letting their body send the I need a wee signal to their brain. So are they ever really potty trained? Because their memory is just from talking. So it's not kind of urgency feel that they feel. And I think she said her youngest, she didn't do it with. And everyone was saying he has to be potty trained because he's going to school. But she was just like, no, I'm going to wait. And he did it on his own terms. And to me, that just makes so much sense. Like, we've all done it as parents. I do it now with my kids and they're adults. I'm like, just have a wee because we're going to get it in the car and it's a long journey. It's like, how do you tell your bladder you need a wee? So, yeah, that's my advice. I don't even know if I've answered your question, but basically, don't do it. Let the kid be led by the child. That's what I would say. And if the school wants them potty trained, then just keep them home a little bit longer. I think we rush to send our kids to school. I'm digressing. We're not going to go there. I didn't really want this question with everything that's in the papers. Can you ever see the maternity system getting any better? No. And it's not for the want of trying. I think it has to come from the women. There's lots of us radical midwives out there. I was on the radio last week talking about it. I was on the telly talking about the maternity system. It's got to come from the people who want to use it. So members of the public, you know, I'm up for a march. Let's just do a march for mothers in Parliament Square and fight for what's right, because it's human rights. But it's just not happening because everyone's so busy with normal life. And I think it starts from the ground up. And the way it's working at the moment is from the top to the bottom. So the suits are making all the decisions and not looking at the people running on the shop floor. And they are dying and leaving in their throes. And then you can't look after women when you're not being looked after by the staff that are meant to be looking after you. That's all I'll say on it. But maybe I'll do a podcast on it because I could say so much more. Next question. This is hilarious. You seem well-rounded. Did you have a good upbringing? I have no idea what this has to do with birth, but I suppose it's got a lot to do with parenting, so I'll answer it. I genuinely believe that all well-rounded people have had some kind of trauma that they've worked through in their life or they're working through. I'm not well-rounded. I'm just a ball of chaos. But I'm comfortable being that person. So I had a very chaotic upbringing. I'm not going to tell you my life story, but I was brought up by a single mum who did her absolute best. And it was rough at times. We were homeless. But I've learnt so much from my upbringing. I never ever saw it as if we were kind of struggling. I just saw it as teamwork. And you choose to perceive your situation to however you want it to be. So thank you for that compliment. You're probably the only person in the whole fucking world who's ever said I'm well-rounded. And am I taking offence to it? No, I'm not. Thank you. That was lovely. What's the one thing you've done as a parent that you wouldn't do again if you had the chance? God, so much. Yeah, so much. I think the biggest thing, me and my husband talk about this all the time, is we would make them more aware of money because we were young when we had them. So we weren't really able to be like, save pots of money for them. So they've always had to kind of get by themselves. And now they'll all say they're absolutely shit with money. and money makes the world go round, unfortunately. It's the devil, isn't it? It's awful. But that's the biggest thing. And I wouldn't have sent them to school. Definitely not sent them to school. My youngest one especially, because she's just a creative. It's really weird because she's the only one that we didn't think would be like me, and she turned 18 and she is literally me. So I think if I had my time again, I probably would have like put her in bubble wrap and honed her beautiful qualities that she couldn't really be seen for in that educational environment. I think my middle one I definitely would have kept in school because she just loves learning. And my son's a bit like me and my daughter. I think we would have, all three of us really would have just benefited from a different kind of learning environment. There's loads of home ed groups out there. I'm not encouraging it, but I think people think it's just for hippies, but they're really cool. So take a look. This is so funny. Do children really need you less when they turn 18? Bullshit. They need you more. I wouldn't want to be an 18-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 26-year-old in this world right now. I don't think I would have survived. I had the best years. I was a cheesy quaver. No phones. Could go out in whatever you wanted to wear. There was no pressure to be the next big thing. You could just go out and be yourself, which actually, going back to the other question, is probably why I'm more well-rounded than because of how I was parented. Yeah, no, me and my husband talk about it all the time. It's like, when do they not stop needing you? So I'll answer it in two parts. Number one, I don't know if you're asking because you don't want them to stop needing you. And empty nest syndrome is fucking brutal. Like, I don't have an empty nest, by the way. But my daughter moved to Canada 2 years ago and I only had one child at home. And even though my son comes around every day, I felt bereft. So if it makes you feel better, they never stop needing you. But if you're asking because you've had a tits full, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Once a parent, always a parent. We shouldn't relinquish that responsibility. Kids didn't ask to be born. And I think you're always the adult in the relationship until you're 80, walking around in a nappy, asking your kid to wipe your ass for you, which is the semi-situation that I'm in now. Sorry, Mum. I hope that answers that one. Next. Oh, this is really sad. I find myself wishing the end of pregnancy away. I know it's my last. I need to click on it. Any tips for me to hone in? You've obviously got kids because you said you know it's your last. So obviously having a toddler or another child around takes away the joy of pregnant. I mean, I hated being pregnant. All 3 times I was the most miserable person in the world. I wasn't a midwife, but I really don't think that would have made a difference. I just couldn't find any joy in it. It was boring. And I felt very guilty for not enjoying it, to be honest. We spoke about it in our home birth group yesterday. I don't think there's anything you can do because it's obviously what your brain is telling you. So I think just accept it. Give yourself a bit of grace. It's okay. You're carrying a human. And yeah, it might be the last time, but you've still got these memories of carrying a human. Maybe just meet up with some really cool friends who aren't judgy and tell them how you feel. So you can do non-pregnant things. I can't tell you to go out and get absolutely shit-faced, but a glass of wine will be okay. And yeah, just do non-pregnant things, non-mum things, and don't put so much pressure on yourself to hone into the actual pregnancy, because it's probably the actual pregnancy that you're not enjoying, which is okay. I hope that makes sense. Next question. Oh, bless this man. He sent 2 in. So I actually asked him to come on my podcast because he sounds like a really cool guy, and he said, well, 2 words, second being off. So there we go. My wife is about to have our first child. I'm bricking it. Any tips? And my mate said you rock. So I looked after his mate who said I rock. I looked after them during birth. So I'll speak from a man's point of view because I am 80% male. If you feel pressured to read the books, do the homework, but it's not actually going in, you're not really enjoying it, then don't do it and don't tell the missus. Speak to people who've had babies before. Speak to men who've had kids before. You've obviously got a good friend there because he's a really cool guy. Ask him about like what you don't need to know everything. The beauty of having a woman who's having a baby is they do. So ask her questions because A, it'll show that you're interested even if you're not. And B, you will get answers to the questions that you've got. So, you know, how can you support her in labour? Well, it's really easy. Hold her hand and give her snacks. It sounds like it's not a big deal, but if she doesn't eat, she won't labour. And if you're not there to hold her hand, you know, she's going to feel so vulnerable. So that would be my biggest advice. What are your fears? Talk through them with her. We also talked about this in the home birth group yesterday because I said to the dads, have you got any fears? And they said no. And I was like, well, that's bullshit because everyone's got fears. You're supporting your wife have a home birth. If you're supporting your wife have a hospital birth, you're bound to have fears. But I think men are predisposed, you know, learned from a young age that it's a woman's journey when they're having a baby. So like, don't poke the bear. Don't talk about any fears you've got because you should just be, throwing out words of positivity and things like that. But I can categorically tell you now, if there is something that you're scared about, she'll know it. In that time when a woman is in labour, she's just letting everything go. So her mind is open to vibes, smells, sensations. If you are at all scared, she'll know. So have those conversations now. Go to antenatal classes and ask the questions, the what ifs. What if this happens? What will go wrong? What could go wrong? That's the best advice I can give you. So don't bury your head in the sand. You obviously are bricking it. And again, it's just down to communication. She'll love you forever for having that chat because it shows that you care. Next question. Well, this is... Why are you so pro VBAC at home? So I'll repeat because I do it all the time. A VBAC is a vaginal birth after cesarean. A HBAC is a home birth after cesarean. So a vaginal birth at home. Why am I so pro? I love them. They're my thing. And the reason why is if you've had a cesarean and you planned not to, the trauma and the grief that comes with that can take years to get over. So VBACs, HBACs, I can't think of another word, I'm sorry, so I'm going to have to use it. And I know it's annoying for some, are quite healing. They're quite healing births. You feel like, because birth is your rite of passage. It's yours and your baby's rite of passage. You should, you have a right to be born the way you choose. So watching women birth in general is just the most amazing thing in the world, or I wouldn't be a midwife. But watching women birth, not only after a cesarean, but in their own home where you're on their patch, you're being invited into their safe space, is phenomenal. And they are never the same person. Once they've achieved that birth that they very much wanted, going for that promotion in work just seems like a walk in the park because you rock and you've achieved it. But even more so, the family. Like I had one on Monday, a week ago today actually, and the whole family are related because all the mums, the aunts, the cousins, they're nervous, right? A princess is a female in their family is about to have a home birth. But not only a home birth after the cesarean. And social media portrays that it's risky. So they're just going to think the worst. So when a woman achieves that, and it all comes from a place of love, all the negativity kind of goes out the window and the celebration is just, it's a family affair. So that's why I'm very pro VBAC. Any questions about VBACs, by the way, just send me messages, but on Kat the Midwife. What's this? You looked after my friend in labour and I'm obsessed with your podcast. You're a natural. How? Because I don't shut up. I love talking to people. I actually feel better talking to strangers than people I know, which is weird. Like I will go to a pub by myself and chat to a man in a corner. Old man, I will say, husband, not anyone on my age. I'll speak to someone on the bus, on the tube. It really doesn't bother me. I'm really interested in life. in people and how they've come to where they are. So I don't really know. And it's a really interesting question because I was shy. I was mute till probably 18, 19. Like so super quiet. Didn't really speak to anyone, hated school. After school, if I wasn't ice skating, I'd just hide out in my bedroom. So I think, yeah, this is when people from school would see, if they saw me now, and I know they do because they watch my podcast, they can't actually believe that, yeah, I don't shut up. So thank you. Am I a natural? That's nice to hear. What do you think of the 5-5-5 rule of postnatal recovery? So I'll quickly explain what it is. So 5-5-5 is you have a baby and then you spend 5 days in bed and you don't move unless you need a wee. So baby's brought to you, food is brought to you. And then you spend 5 days on the bed. So you can sit up, you can walk around the bed, get up and go to the toilet. And then you spend 5 days out of bed, but still in your room. So you're mainly in bed, but you're getting up and you're doing a little bit of exercise. Might want to go make a cuppa and then get back into bed. Some countries, like China, it's like 40 days, I think. So what do I think of it? I think it's amazing and it's the perfect scenario if you can do it. As in like if you haven't got any other kids or any responsibilities. Like I didn't do it. But it's not because I didn't want to. Or B, if you've got a busy brain and you just want to get up and get out and about, and that's what your brain needs, and that's what you are like as a person, like your emotional side is you need to be around people and you don't want to be left alone and you want that social networking and you need to go downstairs, then you do you. So I'm a massive advocate for it because it is the best way to heal the body. But you also got to remember that you've got to heal your mind. And if being sat in your bedroom is mental torture, then absolutely it's not for you. So you could try. I have clients who do 2-2-2. I had one client who did half a day. I have clients who do way longer than that. So you don't have to be stringent on the days. You can make it work for you. I think I've answered that one. How have I got such a high breastfeeding rate? I didn't breastfeed my kids. I couldn't. Genuinely couldn't for a physical reason. I think it's because of continuity of care antenatally. So we talk about it and they're prepared for it. I'm a massive advocate for breastfeeding, but I'm also a massive advocate for not rushing in, letting the baby lead the way. You know, mum needs to rest. So this 2-3 hourly feeding regime is just out the window. So it's more like feed on demand. I'm very pro, if it's not working for you, that's absolutely fine. But I think just allowing a mum to hear that gives her the freedom to choose not to breastfeed if she doesn't want to. And then she carries on breastfeeding. So I suppose it's taking the pressure off and finding alternative solutions because breastfeeding's really fucking hard. Like there's no two ways about it. That first week is the trenches. And if you can reach that golden 7 days, you'll find your way on a path of a successful breastfeeding journey. Right, this one. Here we go. Why are you so against induction? So I'm not against induction. I'm against induction when it's portrayed that it's needed in a life or death situation and it's an unnecessary intervention. I think I've explained that properly, which then leads to an unnecessary cesarean. So let me give you an example. Women are made to feel like if they reach 40 weeks and they haven't had their baby, there's something wrong with their placenta. And for a woman, once that seed is planted, it's really, really hard. So, you know, you can have a scan to check whether your placenta's functioning okay, whether the EDF, the flow is running. And if it is and the baby's growing, there's no reason to go and have an induction. But for the system to work, they can't have all these women out there who are like post-date. So they are talked into, coerced and encouraged to have an induction without actually realising they didn't need it. Their body's not ready to go into labour. So then they're pumped with synthetic hormones to try and get them to contract. It doesn't work and they end up with trauma. And then they come my way for either a birth debrief or their second or third labour. So I'm not against induction. I've supported a lovely lady this year go through induction, and it was completely her choice and very, very, very much needed. So yeah, I'm sorry to all the mums out there if that's what I portray. It's not. It's unnecessary intervention. That's what I'm completely against and always will be. I support choice. Do you honestly think C-section is the easy way out? Not quite sure where you got this from, because absolutely not. I've supported 5 women this year having C-sections, 3 of them elective, so they chose them. I'm not against them at all. They're definitely not the easy way out. In fact, vaginal births are easy compared to the recovery from a C-section. So if a woman is wanting a C-section, if they come to me to counsel them and to support them through it, I 100% make sure that they know what the risks are, what the recovery is like, so that they know that they're making the right decision, because it's not easy. So I accept your message and I'm answering it, but yeah, that's definitely not me. Again, I support choice. Why do you think all babies should be born through... What? Why do you think all babies should be born through the vagina and at home? Again, I don't. I'm a home birth midwife. I'm an independent midwife. I predominantly support women have babies at home. That's what I do. That's what I love. That's the part of midwifery. That's a bit of me. That's why I've honed all my skills into it. It's what I do. I don't believe that all babies should be born through the vagina if mum doesn't want that. But biologically, you can't get away from the fact that babies have better outcomes if they're born through the vagina safely in a normal physiological birth. So they go past the vagina tract and they have all mum's microbiome. The baby's squeezed, so all the lung surfactant comes out. They can breathe better. I can't say that that's what I choose and that's what I agree with, because it's fact. I'm not making this up. For me, obviously, I chose vaginal birth, and I'm allowed to choose whichever birth that I want, as can all mothers. So on a factual basis, babies are better off being born through the vagina in a normal physiological birth that spontaneously happened. It's the safest way for them to birth. As I said, it's their rite of passage. I'm sorry if that pisses off a few people. It's not my opinion. It's a scientific fact. This makes me laugh. Not birth related. What's the secret to your fantastic marriage? Jesus Christ. Well, it hasn't always been fantastic. It's probably been more shit than anything. But we absolutely love each other, and we've had to grow up together. And neither of us wanted a divorce on the same day. There was always one of us fighting when the kids were young to keep the marriage alive. So we're very lucky in that respect, that there was never a conversation where it was, we're done. It was either I'm done and then the other person keep fighting. And I massively fancy my husband. There's no two ways about it. I'd bin him if I didn't. I'm a very passionate person, so I can't be with anyone that gives me the ick. And he doesn't, never has. Well, he did when he grew a moustache. That was disgusting. I don't mind a moustache and a beard, but not, oh God, no. See, I've now got the ick, so I'll take it back now. But our kids are older now, so we're now like learning a different way of life, and he's my best friend. There's no two ways about it. If you would have asked me that 4 years ago, I wasn't even sure if it was going to work, which is bonkers if you saw us now. So communication, learning that you're not the same species in any way, shape or form. We have different needs and different wants, and you've just got to respect them. I know it sounds really hairy-fairy, but that's basically it, and it's taken 30 years to get to that. But also learning to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is lovely. It's a beautiful thing, and I think, I'm not going to say all men, but most men see it as a sign of weakness, and it really isn't. It's a sign of strength. If you can be vulnerable with your partner, then that means that you're allowing them to see you where you are, because you can only meet someone where they are at that time. I could talk about this forever, so I'm going to move on. How much easier is a second vaginal birth on average less than 2-year gap. Good question, but you could take it in so many transitions. So you obviously had a successful vaginal birth before, so that's your superpower. You've done it before. Secondly, you would pay me £1 million to tell you it's going to be easier the second time, but I can't do that because I don't know enough about you, and I would never say that anyway. But tips, if you get the environment right and you've got the right people around you, and you don't have fear, you just have anxiety, because you're bound to be anxious going into labour again, especially if it didn't go to plan last time or you've got some hidden trauma. If you have, do rewind therapy. Get all your ducks in a row. Who do I want to be there? Where do I want to birth? What do I want it to look like? Visualise it. And yeah, it probably would be easier. That's yeah. I think so. Mine was. So cool. Hey, this is so good. We had a baby 3 months ago and I can't seem to do anything right. This is from a man. Aww. Advice. Okay, here we go. We're different species. I keep repeating it for a start. Women after they've had a baby, I just talked about being soft and vulnerable, are probably their most vulnerable, most unexperienced, and they feel out of their depth massively. And sadly, it is all about them and the baby, but it doesn't mean a man shouldn't feel that way. I think women are much more sensitive to threat. And I don't mean you're threatening, I mean situations are threatening. So you've had a baby, baby's not sleeping, is baby well enough, husband's not doing much. So they're very, very sensitive to vibes. So if something's off, then they can feel it instantaneously. However, you don't know what that is, so you start questioning, it's got to be my partner, because you're the person that they spend the most time with. You're going to annoy them more than anyone. And it is really difficult. Like, there's loads of research out there to say, do not make any drastic changes in a relationship in the first 2 years after having kids. And I don't think it's talked about enough. So thank you for asking. So I would hunker down. And sadly, you can't go back. If you could go back, I would say have a conversation on what your expectations are from each other when you're a parent. And again, this has not come from experience. We didn't do any of this. So, what are you expecting off me? I'm going to be up all night breastfeeding. And then, you can't really expect anything off her. But I know she'll want emotional touch off you. So that's going to be really hard if you're more of a hands-on kind of person. So if you're a hands-on kind of person, what can you do instead of? Because the baby's just going to want to be with mum. Babies love their dads as well, but in those first few months, especially if she's breastfeeding, it's just going to be mum, which mums are entitled to feel very frustrated and irritated with, because you just feel touched out. I would I don't know your situation, but you can reach out to me, by the way, off this, and we can chat. But I would just do something special for her. Because at the moment, I imagine if you're working or whatever, you're getting home and it's all to do with the baby. Or can you put loads of washing on? Are you going to cook or blah, blah, blah. And because she's been talking baby all day, she's not getting that adult time. So I would just do something special for her. Even if it's like, book for her to have her nails done. Or just to show that, hey, I'm here. I know I'm irritating you, but I don't seem to be able to do anything right. I still want to participate in this and I want to help as much as I can, so I've booked you a hair appointment. She's probably not going to want to be away from the baby for that long, so do something really short. I could say you could go out on a date, but she probably just needs time out from everyone. I speak to mums all the time, and the dream is to go and stay in a hotel on your own with a bottle of wine, watch a movie, and not have anyone touch you. But with a baby that young, she can't. So just try and find that space for her to have by herself. And I imagine she will be forever grateful for that. I hope that helps. What's my thoughts on continuous fetal monitoring? So I'll explain what that is. Continuous fetal monitoring is monitoring a baby during labour with basically straps on your belly that's attached to a machine. So to see how the baby's heartbeat reacts. I don't like it. leads to unnecessary interventions. It has a place, but in my world, my midwifery world, how I work, we just do intermittent monitoring at home. So when I was, a labour ward midwife, when I worked there, I didn't really like it then either, because babies have a normal physiological reaction to stress. They have to. But when you're constantly watching a machine and when a baby's constantly being monitored, they can react too quick. That's all I'll say, because I don't really want it to be about that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on continuous fetal monitoring. However, if a mum wants it, 100% have it. It's your choice. So all the studies and research out there say it's this, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have it if it's going to get you through a labour that you're going to be very anxious about, and you just need that continuity of listening to that heartbeat and knowing that everything's okay. You do you. Absolutely. And I have just two more. I love this. My wife appears very vulnerable after giving birth. How can I help her? I feel useless. Oh, dads are just lush. I just love them. So I'll go back to the vulnerability word again. I think don't portray it as a sign of weakness and as if she's, oh my God, she looks so vulnerable. It's okay. It's a beautiful thing. I love feeling vulnerable. It means you're open. And she will be vulnerable. You're your most vulnerable person. If she was like a career woman and this is your first baby, you've had a baby and you're like, what the fuck has just happened? Where's my old life gone? I would just love a couple of hours to myself. Exactly what the other question I just answered. To be honest, just let her talk. Just let her talk. Ask her, don't think that the problem is always you. Don't give yourself that much regard, because I can guarantee you it probably isn't. So if she's like quite weepy, it's probably because she's just had a really rough day. But if this is a thing that's happening every day, then you should reach out and ask for help, because postnatal depression and postnatal anxiety is so undiagnosed, because you're expected to feel a certain way after you've had a baby. So if you don't feel that way, you won't speak up because you think there's something wrong with you, which is really, really sad, because there's loads of women out there like that. And same for dads, actually. I'm going to sound like I've said this a million times, but communication, it's the key word to everything. So number one, it's so lush that you've asked that question. I love it. And number two, I don't want to like dumb it down, because I don't know. When you say the word vulnerable, I say it's a sign of strength. But if you're talking about like her mental health and you're worried about her, then please reach out. There's loads of resources out there. And I think that is it. But let me just check. Yes, it is. So that's me done for this one. Bye from Aunty Kat. Our next one will be in a month. Shoot some ideas my way. What kind of topic do you want to talk about? I'm not going to talk about loads of topics in these sessions, so it's just one. Could be parenting, could be like dealing with teenagers, could be anything. I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot. Bye for now.